So I'm going to kick this one off with a quote from Brené Brown. Blame is simply the discharging of discomfort and pain. It has an inverse relationship with accountability. So blame is basically the passing of accountability from one person to another. It's one person taking the energy that they should be resolving within themselves and passing it off to another person, kind of like a ping pong ball. This happens when somebody's not emotionally mature enough to deal with those issues themselves. And like the conversation that we had yesterday, yeah, I'm doing these one a day. Like the conversation we had yesterday, it is also an energy exchange. It just happens in the inverse way. So let's take a look at what that looks like in the graphic. There we go. So I added shame in there. I should have put that in there yesterday. But basically, abuser is trying to take or hierarchically put themselves above you in the positive light while pushing negative energy in your direction as well. The light has been fed on for far too long. Everything's connected, and balance will be restored. As mentioned in the earlier videos, both the blame and the threat section both have a time element to them. Blame is responsibility for something that occurred in the past, and a threat is responsibility for something that may occur in the future. So, reminder, the purpose of this report is to drive an AI product that can do this analysis on a consistent level for us in real time, so they don't have to sit at a computer for a year like I did. And the purpose of this is to stop the family court madness, which is basically mass producing broken people. What this system will do will create quantifiable consistency within cases, and it will do it without eyewitness accounts, which is important, especially when you look at projection, and I'll remind you of these two down here, because of gaslighting over here and rose-colored glasses over here. None of the stories are actually accurate. The only thing that's going to be accurate is the data. While the blame section wouldn't be the greatest indicator independently of abuse, and I'll get into blame validity in a second, I will say this. If you pull out the data from a case without eyewitness accounts, the blame section gives you the whole story. Like real easy. And I will show you there's indicators of truthfulness or non-truthfulness within that. But if you're looking at a case-by-case basis, this will allow authority figures to review the details of a case without needing to deal with eyewitnesses at all. Now, validity. So blame's not going to be a good independent indicator of abuse because you don't know what's valid or what's not without eyewitness accounts. You can't tell whether they're being blamed for something they actually did or whether they're being blamed for a lie or an embellishment or an incidence of gaslighting. In that way, the blame is not an independent indicator. But as I said, it will be a very indicator of the story because you'll get it in the blame section. Even when you look at the data, like going down the blames, it becomes so clear without all of the extra stuff in it. It's actually a very valuable piece of information. So the drilling within both the blame and the threat section was on a subject matter. Two specific categories of interest here that came up in the drill down, and they're both incidences wherein there's a blame for a non-tangible thing. And it's when you're being blamed for your behavior or you're being blamed for someone else's reaction. and I'll tell you what that looks like. Incidents where you're being blamed for your behavior. And this is actually one of those cross categories. So this example is going to be blaming and demeaning, and I'll show you how that works. There is no one more full of shit than you. Sorry, that came out rough. There is no one more full of shit than you. The full of shit part is demeaning. But there is no one more insinuates that you were a piece of shit before. So you're a piece of shit in the past. So it is not only blaming you for what your behavior in the past, it's also demeaning. This has been our marriage from the start. That's on you. Let's take a long look in the mirror and understand who you are and what you're doing. Everything that went back and forth today was a waste of energy. The next area that had interest is being blamed for somebody else's reaction. And that looks like you've completely ruined my day again. Honestly, couldn't respond to this yesterday because it was too insulting. You obviously do stuff to get under my skin on a daily basis. Blame.